Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils Skyroot built India's first private rocket, Vikram First, capable of placing satellites into orbit. India and Indonesia discuss ways to deepen bilateral defence cooperation at the third Defence Ministers' Dialogue in New Delhi. US President Donald Trump orders 500 additional troop deployment in Washington, D.C. after 2 National Guard troops were shot near the White House.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror.
Trump advises Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi not to provoke China on Taiwan, reports the Wall Street Journal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity Campus in Hyderabad via video conferencing on Thursday. Prime Minister Modi also unveiled Skyroot's first orbital rocket, Vikram First, with the capability to launch satellites into orbit. The state-of-the-art facility will have around 200,000 square feet of workspace for designing, developing, integrating and testing multiple launch vehicles with a capacity to build 1 orbital rocket every month. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Modi said that the government opened the space sector to private innovation, introduced a new space policy, connected startups with the industry.
3, 2, 1, 0.
A major boost for India's private space ambitions. Hyderabad-based Skyroot Aerospace today opened its Infinity Campus, a facility dedicated to building and testing multiple launch vehicles under one roof. Inaugurated virtually by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the campus spans almost 2 lakh square feet and aims to manufacture 1 orbital rocket every month. At the heart of today's event was the unveiling of Vikram 1, Skyroot's first orbital class rocket capable of placing satellites into low Earth orbit. The company says the new facility will significantly speed up production timelines for the Vikram series. Skyroot, founded by former ISRO scientists Pawan Chandana and Bharat Dhaka, has been at the forefront of India's private space growth. In 2022, it became the first Indian private company to launch a rocket, Vikram S, into space. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the rise of private space companies reflect the success of recent reforms in the sector.
सरकार ने स्पेस सेक्टर को प्राइवेट इनोवेशन के लिए ओपन किया। नई स्पेस पॉलिसी तैयार की गई। हमने स्टार्टअप्स को, इंडस्ट्री को इनोवेशन के साथ जोड़ने का प्रयास किया। हमने इन स्पेस की स्थापना की, अपने स्टार्टअप्स के लिए इसरो की फैसिलिटीज और टेक्नोलॉजी को उपलब्ध कराया। यानी भारत ने बीते 6-7 वर्षों में ही अपने स्पेस सेक्टर को एक ओपन, कोऑपरेटिव और इनोवेशन ड्रिवन इकोसिस्टम में बदल दिया है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also praised the contributions of India's Gen Z in taking the nation to new heights.
फिनटेक हो, एग्रीटेक हो, हेल्थ टेक हो, क्लाइमेट टेक हो, एजुटेक हो, डिफेंस टेक हो, हर क्षेत्र में भारत के युवा, हमारे जैन जी नए समाधान दे रहे हैं।
With the Infinity campus now operational, Skyroot will accelerate work on commercial satellite launches using the Vikram series. The company says the new integrated facility, housing manufacturing, assembly and testing, will boost efficiency and reduce turnaround time. India's private space industry has expanded rapidly in recent years, driven by reforms that open the sector for collaboration and investment. Skyroot's progress is seen as a key step towards building an Atmanirbhar competitive launch ecosystem.
And we are joined by Ajay Lele, renowned space expert from the IDSA. Welcome, Dr. Lele. Prime Minister Narendra Modi noted in his speech inaugurating Skyroot's Infinity campus that while ISRO had powered India's space journey for decades, now India's private sector is forging ahead in this space, so to speak. Tell us in what ways the entry and the successes of the private sector means for India's space program.
I think India's space program has come a long way. We became space-faring nation way back in 1980 when we started launching our own satellites by using our own launch vehicle. Now today we have reached to a position when the launch vehicle will be owned not by the government of India's agencies like ISRO, but by a private agency like Skyroot. And I think that's a very quantum jump, one can say. We have achieved a lot amount of a success over a period of time as far as our space trajectory is concerned. Last couple of years, Skyroot and other agencies are working very hard to ensure that the private sector actually sustains and then expands further. Today, what we can see as far as the entire facility of a Skyroot is a very amazing thing to happen within a span of say 3 to 4 years, that a smaller company which was started by 2 individuals has now become a company employing almost 1,000 people. They have undertaken a suborbital launch in 2022, and they are now proposing a full orbital launch early next year. So I think this is a very major progress which has happened as far as India's entire space ecosystem is concerned. Particularly during last few years, we have got a lot of startups which have started entering into the space arena because of the favorable facilities. The structures are there now. You have got a space policy also which actually identifies who is supposed to do what. So there is a lot amount of a clarity, lot amount of a young talent is coming into being, and good investment is also coming into being. So I think Skyroot is a main example of how a space ecosystem can evolve in a shortest possible time to such a great heights.
Okay, the entry of the private sector into the space domain has been greatly facilitated by government reforms. Could you highlight some of these key reforms undertaken by the government in this sector in recent years?
You see, India, I can say that was at the right time in the history when privatization started happening globally. Elon Musk's company SpaceX started making internet available through the passage of satellites for last couple of years only. And that has actually boosted the global sector as far as space is concerned. Otherwise, couple of years back, very few satellites were launched. But now the number of satellites which are getting launched has increased substantially. So that is a good thing. So India was there, available over there, with ISRO doing its own work. They have identified few areas of expertise, and they have, I can say that they have traveled that path in a very systematic fashion. So we had the basic ecosystem which was ready for the privatization to start. And subsequently, the private sector has even, India has allowed 100% FDI also in a selective basis in the private sector. So a lot of reforms which have happened in space agency, which will actually boost the privatization, came into being around 4 years back, and which is actually spearheading the entire space economy, one can say, and a space ecosystem as far as privatization is concerned. Around 400 startups are operating basically in the domain of a space. There could be around 4,000 people who are actually the high-tech trained people who are getting employed into these startups. And more importantly, around 4,000 crores of investment is happening. I think more importance should be given to the investments of the minds of the scientific community and of the money also. So all these three things have come together, and that's why we can see a major boost which is happening into private sector.
Okay, if you could tell us a little bit more about this private space sector revolution. Tell us something about the Gen Z's journey in the space sector, the number of startups, and how have small teams also succeeded in, boosting the private space revolution in the country?
You see, what happened was that if you see ISRO space program, even today, even if ISRO launches a rocket, almost 80% of the job associated with launch of that rocket and putting satellites into orbit is done by a private sector. So there are a lot of smaller companies which are doing a lot of amount of activities which are directly or indirectly related with ISRO's launch system as well as manufacturing of a satellite. There have been areas, particularly the areas like satellite manufacturing, creating structures for satellites, creating structures for rockets, where HAL also is playing a very important role. So I can say that it is a journey of a public-private system which is making a journey pretty faster. As far as startups are concerned, as it was mentioned by Prime Minister, Gen Z is taking a very important role over here. You have got people at the age of 23, 25 who are CEOs of small startups, and they're really doing good work. They're doing a focused work. This is essentially because now you've got a system in place where you've got a clarity of what is to be done. One window sort of a clearance is there for various types of activities. So there is very less red tapeism over here. Globally also, as I was making a mention, the space sector is booming. So definitely there is a certain amount of, one can say, money which is coming from a global players also into India's private sector. More importantly, if you see, ISRO has made a mark globally as far as a space agency is concerned. Somewhere down the line, one can say that actually ISRO has created a confidence in the rest of the world that India can be taken seriously. And that's one of the main reasons why India's private actors are also taken seriously. Because some of the private players who are operating in this world have already worked in ISRO, so they have got good amount of experience also. So I can say that it is a combination of various things which is actually giving you the fruit at this point in time.
Indeed. Lastly, a word on India's high quality manufacturing ecosystem that has contributed to India's space program.
You see, there are 2 to 3 things over here. As far as private sector is concerned, private sector can make investments, private sector can do research and development, they can do innovation. But at end of the day, the testing systems are very difficult systems. They're difficult to manufacture, number one, and huge amount of investments are required. So the government policy has allowed the private sector to use ISRO's testing facilities. That's why high quality manufacturing is possible, because even if you manufacture something, you require adequate testing facilities for that. So ISRO's testing facilities are also available, and that is one of the major reasons because of the partnership of ISRO, the handholding which ISRO is doing with the private sector is booming, and they are innovating new technologies. Particularly if you can see this Skyroot rocket also will have carbon fibers, will have 3D printing. So all new technologies are put into place to develop new sorts of rocket systems.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lele, for being with us and shedding light on India's private sector space revolution as well. Thank you. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Operation Sindoor is a defining moment in India's counter-terror strategy, says President Murmu at the Chanakya Defence Dialogue. India's first Tesla Experience and Service Centre opened at the Orchid Business Park in Gurugram. Baramulla is set in Kashmir. It's a chilling investigation of missing children in the valley, but with a twist.
We wanted to shed light on that topic because it is reality. It's not something that is not fiction.
हर किडनैपिंग रैंसम के लिए नहीं होती है.
Gulnar goes into the other world, the world of shadows. You cannot explain it logically.
We were just more concerned that we should be able to fit everything, and that took, I think, 2 years.
And I'm really grateful that the audience right now is calling it that a new age horror has really been born in this country right now with Baramulla.
You're watching the India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. The third India-Indonesia Defence Ministers Dialogue is underway in New Delhi. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh co-chaired the event alongside Indonesia's Defence Minister Safari Samsuaidin. During the event, the two ministers reviewed the regional security developments, discussed multilateral issues and explored new areas to deepen bilateral defence cooperation. Speaking at the meeting, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the recent signing of the enhanced agreement on defence cooperation between India and Indonesia strengthened both nations' commitment to augment defence cooperation.
In May 2018, as well as the signing of the enhanced agreement on defence cooperation. My frequent meetings with His Excellency Prabowo Subianto as Defence Minister further strengthened both our countries' commitment to augment defence cooperation. Through the decades, our defence ties have flourished, built on the foundation of the mutual commitment to regional security. Today's dialogue serves as a testament to the growing strength of our defence cooperation, which is an important pillar of our cooperation. Excellency, during the deliberations today, I look forward to have free and frank exchange of views to further deepen and expand our bilateral defence cooperation.
Speaking at the event, Indonesia's Defence Minister said that today's dialogue carries forward the strong momentum built between both the countries since India's Defence Minister's visit to Indonesia in 2018.
Today's dialogue carries forward for the strong momentum we have built together. In 2018, the visit of India Defence Minister to Jakarta revitalized our defence cooperation through the ceremonial signing of the Defence Cooperation Agreement, DCA. We both sides emphasizing the importance of translating discussion into concrete and practical deliverables. In this spirit, I'm confident that our dialogue today will produce concrete outcomes that strengthen trust and advance the strategic partnership between our two defense establishments.
Indeed, India's Akshay Dongre tells us more on the story. Akshay, what more can you share with us on India-Indonesia defense ministerial talks?
Well, Tanvi, it's a right, right step in the direction of moving more closer to the, Southeast Asian region, especially given the fact that Indonesia, India, Philippines, other countries there share same concerns about free and fair, South China Sea and other Indo-Pacific regions as well. Both the countries have strong maritime relations. When it comes to the navies, they have strong trade relations. They have similar kind of concerns as far as the rise of hegemony of China is concerned in that particular area. The kind of conflicts that keep on happening there. So all of these are sort of, shared views and shared concerns of both the countries. And the kind of meeting that is taking place is extremely important, given the fact that India is also, moving towards becoming a major defense supplier to these countries. Earlier, we have supplied BrahMos missiles to Philippines. This time around, we are, expecting there have been long-term discussions going on over supplying of BrahMos missiles to Indonesia. That can also translate into reality very soon. That is going to be a big, defense sale to a nation which India had, not so much defense exports, but BrahMos deal is going to be a breakthrough that can lead to further deals in Tejas, other deals in helicopters, other kind of defense equipment that India purchases and have been using, and especially after they all have been tested through fire during Operation Sindoor. So it was a major testament to our defense capabilities, and it seems that these kind of regular defense ministerial level talks and other ministerial level talks that are taking place between countries of Southeast Asia and India are going to bring the two regions closer in an unprecedented manner in the near future.
Right, Akshay, you just mentioned about the BrahMos deal. Yes, Indonesia's interest in the BrahMos missiles has been the talk of the town for some time now. Are these talks in advanced stages? By when can we see finalization of this BrahMos deal?
Well, we are expecting the finalization to happen very soon. However, until an official confirmation is given by the Ministry of Defense, after the cost and other aspects of the deal have been finalized, we won't be able to give a date to the viewers, but it's in very final stages, very much in final stages, and the deal can be expected anytime. Hopes are very high that during this visit, there would be a major announcement as far as the deal is concerned, because BrahMos missiles have been, tested quite thoroughly during Operation Sindoor. Many of the terror bases as well as Pakistan's air bases were hit by BrahMos after, the conflict started.
Right.
So the situation is looking quite positive as far as that deal is concerned.
All right. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, reporting from New Delhi on this story. Moving on, the two-day Chanakya Defence Dialogue 2025 began in New Delhi. Addressing the conclave, President Draupadi Murmu said India's diplomacy, economic strength and armed forces collectively present a nation committed to peace while remaining fully prepared to defend its borders and citizens. DD India's Vishal Baristo reports.
Praising the armed forces for their professionalism and patriotism, the President lauded the role of the Indian Armed Forces during Operation Sindoor against terrorism.
The recent success of Operation Sindoor stands as a defining moment in our counter-terror and deterrence strategy.
President Murmu underlined that the Indian Armed Forces have exemplified professionalism and patriotism in guarding the sovereignty of India. During every security challenge, be it conventional, counterinsurgency, or humanitarian, our forces have displayed remarkable adaptability.
I am happy to know that beyond its operational role, the Indian Defence Forces remain a pillar of national development. Apart from strengthening our frontiers, they have also helped in border area development through infrastructure, connectivity, tourism, and education.
Emphasizing fast-changing geopolitical dynamics, President Murmu said the international system is being rewritten by contesting power centers, technological disruptions, and shifting alliances. New domains of competition, cyberspace, information, and cognitive warfare are blurring the lines between peace and conflicts. On this occasion, the Chief of Army Staff stressed that the world has moved from bipolarity through a brief unipolar moment into an uncertain and fractured order. Long periods of peace are declining and complex conflicts are on the rise. In a world with over 50 ongoing conflicts, saying that we live in turbulent times may actually be an understatement. As the globe shifts towards national security, deterrence, and war fighting, it inevitably raises a fundamental question. How must the Indian military transform to remain decisive and ready in this rapidly evolving global landscape? The starting point of the transformation, he said, lies in Prime Minister's 5S approach.
5S approach, that is Samman, Samvad, Sahyog, Samriddhi and Suraksha. English, it would mean respect, dialogue, cooperation, prosperity and security. It guides how the whole of nation ecosystem must deliberate, coordinate and act through the Amrit Kal towards a Viksit Bharat. It is from this vision that this year's dialogue draws its theme, Reform to Transform, Sashakt, Surakshit and Viksit Bharat, that is strong, secure and developed Bharat.
The two-day defense conclave with the theme of Reform to Transform, Sashakt, Surakshit or Viksit Bharat draws top military brass and academia from within the country and friendly nations across the globe.
The aim of Chanakya Defense Dialogue is to provide a platform to the national and international experts to provide insights on the emerging threats, on the technological advancements and also on the defense reforms. With cameraman Rajesh Ricky in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Electric car maker Tesla is set to boost its presence in India with the opening of its first full-fledged centre in Gurugram on Thursday. India's first Tesla Experience and Service Centre opened at the Orchid Business Park in Gurugram. The 25,000 square feet centre will function as a full-fledged service hub, offering sales, delivery, consultation, maintenance, repair and a supercharging station with cars for the Model Y launch already in place. Tesla says the centre will offer a world-class experience, allowing customers to explore cars in virtual reality, customize options and take a same-day test drive. The service bay features 12 lifts and modern diagnostic equipment. And next we take a look at other stories making news in India. The India International Trade Fair 2025 wraps up on Thursday at the Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The annual event has showcased innovations, products, partnerships across diverse sectors, drawing exhibitors and visitors from India and abroad. The fair has served as a platform for global trade, business networking and cultural exchange. The Unique Identification Authority of India, UIDAI, has deactivated over 2 crore Aadhaar numbers belonging to deceased individuals. The move is part of a nationwide clean-up drive aimed at ensuring the continued accuracy and reliability of the Aadhaar database, which serves as India's key digital identity system. The Centre for Development of Telematics, CDOT, has signed an MOU with the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, to establish a Centre of Excellence in Advanced Communication Technologies. The centre will focus on 5G, 6G, quantum communication, cybersecurity, AI applications and energy-efficient wireless systems, fostering academia-industry collaboration. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Hong Kong apartment residents devastated by the complex fire. Stay with us to know what really caused the massive blaze. US President Trump says South Africa won't be invited to the 2026 G20 in Miami. And Singapore hosts the largest ever World Robot Olympiad.
For the longest time, we treated the Earth's resources as endless. But now the real challenge is to rethink how we use what we already have. Because how we manage the environment's resources will dictate our chances of survival.
He applied finely crushed basalt rock on 2 of his 4 fields and says the difference is clear to see.
It's like a window of opportunity. For every hour we are working with this project.
The pumped groundwater is first filtered. Then it goes into a tank and is filtered again. After that, it is collected in this tank where people can access it.
We have been making handicrafts from banana plants for quite some time now. Currently, we produce around 30 products.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A reminder of the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled Skyroot built India's first private rocket, Vikram First, capable of placing satellites into orbit. India and Indonesia discuss ways to deepen bilateral defence cooperation at the 3rd Defence Ministers' Dialogue in New Delhi. US President Trump orders 500 additional troop deployment in Washington, D.C. after 2 National Guard troops were shot near the White House. And Trump advises Japanese Prime Minister Sane Takaichi not to provoke China on Taiwan, reports the Wall Street Journal. On to the US shooting now. President Donald Trump called it an act of terror, mentioning that the suspect had been identified and was believed to have entered into the United States from Afghanistan in 2021. Trump called for his government to re-examine Afghan immigrants who entered the United States during former President Joe Biden's administration. The suspect, who was wounded in an exchange of gunfire before he was arrested, was identified by the Department of Homeland Security as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national. Following Trump's remarks, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said late on Wednesday it has stopped processing all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals indefinitely.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity.
Earlier on Wednesday, 2 U.S. National Guard soldiers were shot near the White House in Washington. The shootings took place at the Farragut West Metro Station, 2 blocks from the White House, and in mid-afternoon when the streets and nearby businesses were packed. FBI Director Kash Patel said both soldiers, part of a militarized anti-crime deployment around the United States ordered by Trump, were in critical condition. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser called it a targeted shooting by a single gunman.
Before we get started, on a somber note, we had, and some of you may have seen this on your phones or on social media, but apparently there was a shooting outside the White House just a couple of hours ago. And we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out. But what we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty.
In the wake of Wednesday's shooting, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday that President Donald Trump has asked for 500 additional troop deployment for Washington, D.C.
President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that South Africa will not be invited to take part in next year's G20 summit in Florida after Washington boycotted the Leaders' Summit in Johannesburg last week, which the African nation called a punitive measure against it. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's office called Trump's post regrettable. Ramaphosa said that since the U.S. delegation was not present at the summit last week, instruments of the G20 presidency were duly given to a U.S. embassy official at the headquarters of South Africa's Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Since taking office for a second time in January, Trump has been critical of the South African government's domestic and foreign policies. Trump has repeatedly alleged that South Africa's black majority government persecutes its white minority and that there was a genocide of white farmers in the country, claims that have been widely discredited. In a White House meeting in May, Trump confronted South Africa's leader with false claims of white genocide. Trump said on Wednesday that his administration was going to stop all payments and subsidies to South Africa effective immediately. Trump signed an executive order in February to cut financial assistance for South Africa, citing disapproval of its land policy and of its genocide case at the International Court of Justice against Washington's ally, Israel. Venezuela's aviation authority said on Wednesday that it banned multiple airlines accused of terrorism after they suspended routes, heeding warnings from the United States about military activity in the region. Civil Aviation Authority said that the affected airlines, Spain, Portugal, Colombia, Chile, Brazil and Turkey, will have their operational permits revoked for joining the actions of state terrorism promoted by the United States government and unilaterally suspending air commercial operations. Washington had warned of increased military activity in the Caribbean amid a deployment to target narcotics operations, which Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro insists are intended to overthrow his government. The flight suspension has so far affected over 8,000 passengers in at least 40 different flights. Next, updates on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia said on Wednesday that the ongoing talks to end the conflict in Ukraine were serious after earlier welcoming parts of a new US plan to halt the crisis. Russian officials cautioned that an agreement remained distant, with US envoy Steve Witkoff expected in Moscow next week for more deliberations. In televised comments, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the negotiations were ongoing and the process is serious. Washington has not released the updated plan, which President Donald Trump described as a refined version of an earlier 28-point outline dismissed by Kiev and European governments as overly favorable to Moscow. Trump and US Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, who has met Russian representatives, signaled cautious optimism. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said that the draft needed deeper evaluation, noting that some points were positive while others still required expert review. Meanwhile, leaders of country members of Collective Security Treaty Organization assembled in Kyrgyzstan's capital Bishkek on Thursday. Russian President Vladimir Putin, along with his counterparts from Belarus, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, were welcomed by Kyrgyz President Sahadir Japarov. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan was absent as Armenia suspended its participation in February last year, citing dissatisfaction with the organization's lack of support during the conflict with Azerbaijan. More from the Indo-Pacific, US President Donald Trump advised Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi not to provoke China over Taiwan's sovereignty. As reported by the Wall Street Journal, the advice followed Xi Jinping's call with Donald Trump, where Taiwan was raised as a key issue. The row between Asia's two biggest economies began after Takaichi said that Tokyo could intervene militarily in any attack on Taiwan, which China claims as part of its territory. The report said Trump was subtle and did not ask Takaichi to retract her remarks, but officials found the message worrying. China reacted sharply to Takaichi's earlier comments, while Japan rejected Beijing's claims of rising crime against Chinese nationals in Japan. More from Asia. At least 55 people were killed in a deadly blaze in Hong Kong that left nearly 300 people missing. Firefighters carried on their searches for any survivor in one of the deadliest blazes of the decade. The blaze had erupted on Wednesday afternoon in a housing complex in one of the most densely populated regions. Flames were still spotted in some of the windows, while multiple fire hoses sprayed the scorched exteriors on Thursday noon. Hong Kong's anti-corruption body said that it has launched a probe in a separate neighborhood, seizing documents in connection to arresting 3 people suspected of acting with gross negligence by leaving foam packaging at the site of the fire. A magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck Simuel Island off the coast of Sumatra in western Indonesia on Thursday, with no immediate reports of damage or tsunami warnings. The quake hit at 11:56 a.m. local time at a depth of 25 kilometers, prompting residents to rush outside in fear. The Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning Center confirmed that there was no threat of a tsunami. Indonesia, a vast archipelago on the Pacific Ring of Fire, experiences frequent seismic activity. And next, we take a look at other stories making news around the world. The World Robot Olympiad has opened in Singapore, drawing nearly 600 teams from over 90 countries. Young innovators are competing with robots designed to tackle real-world challenges. First launched in Singapore in 2004, the annual event highlights how science and technology can improve everyday life through creativity. A towering 20-foot Christmas tree now graces St. George's Hall at Windsor Castle in the United Kingdom, with festive garlands lining the corridors. The royal residence is set to welcome visitors eager to admire the decorations, alongside German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who will attend a state visit in December. Pope Leo began his first journey outside Italy as a Catholic leader with a visit to Turkey, where he is expected to call for peace in West Asia and urge unity among Christian churches. The first US Pope chose Turkey as his first overseas destination to mark the 1700th anniversary of a landmark early church council there that produced the Nicene Creed, still used by most of the world's Christians today. The 56th edition of International Film Festival of India, IFFI, witnesses a lot of action, included the screenings and gala premieres of Andhra King, Claudia and Manushya on day 8. Apart from that, there will be masterclasses led by leading filmmakers, including Nagarjun. The day will begin with the launch of a commemorative stamp honouring filmmaker K. Vaikunt. The day will be filled with red carpet walks led by film cast of the films being premiered on the second last day of IFFI. And on to some business news now. The IMF announced on Wednesday that it has reached a preliminary agreement with Ukraine on a new program that could provide more than $8 billion in fresh financing as the country continues to struggle over the conflict with Russia. The fund said Ukraine remains committed to preserving economic stability and restoring debt sustainability. The new arrangement outlines fiscal and monetary measures intended to support these goals and is expected to help attract significant external funding to bridge Ukraine's financial gaps. Also, the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, was on an official visit in Germany, and as the visit wrapped up, the IMF gave some assessments for the German economy that has both optimism and caution. For more on their forecast for the economy, Varda Imran from Deutsche Welle joins me from Berlin now. Varda, thank you for being with us. What does the IMF predict for Germany as the year 2025 is wrapping up?
Thanks for having me. Well, in a nutshell, the IMF mission predicted economic recovery and growth for Germany that's powered by the landmark reform of the debt brake. It's something we've talked about often, how Germany is going to increase its spending in infrastructure and defense. This spending will spark the recovery, the IMF say, and this will lead to acceleration of domestic investment and spending. However, this is kind of a long-term assessment. In the medium term, though, the picture is still gloomy. Germany's rapid aging population and a drop in productivity are still hindering growth. The IMF also said that in the second half of 2024, Germany's economy was kind of on its way to recovery, but trade issues and Trump's tariffs this year really stunted that growth. Germany's GDP is set to rise by only 0.2% this year.
Okay, and what are some things Germany can learn from its European peers, Varda?
Well, there are some very valuable lessons to be learned from the diverse economies and cultures here in Europe. Firstly, digitalization. Germany could learn a thing or two from Nordic neighbors and offer digital services that reduces or entirely cuts away unnecessary bureaucracy. Adopting affordable housing models like that of social housing in Vienna, which are non-profit subsidized housing estates for the larger population. This could be a good initiative. From Spain, Germany can learn how to better absorb shocks to the economy and how to best brave these shocks and hard times to move on. Germany has taken lessons from neighbors before, and surely it will again.
Thank you very much, Varda Imran. They're reporting from DW Berlin. You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for some sporting action. Fans across the city of Naples paid tribute to the football legend on his 5th death anniversary. From the stadium stands to the streets of Naples, chants of Diago echoed throughout the city. Widely regarded as one of the greatest footballers of all times, Diego Maradona transformed Napoli into a powerhouse, leading the club to its first ever Serie A titles in 1987 and 1990. In honor of his legacy, Napoli's stadium was renamed Stadio Diego Armando Maradona following his passing in 2020. Four-time Tour de France winner Chris Froome is cycling again. Froome's return comes 3 months after a life-threatening crash. The August accident left him with collapsed lung and 5 broken ribs. Froome shared his recovery update on social media, showing progress after surgery. While his return to training is encouraging, his future in professional cycling remains uncertain, with no contract yet for next season. India delivered an impressive performance at the 25th Summer Deaf Olympics in Tokyo. Team India finished 6th with a total of 20 medals. This includes 9 gold, 7 silver and 4 bronze medals. Ukraine topped the medals tally with 100 medals, followed by the USA with 36, while host nation Japan secured the third position with 51 medals. Shooter Mahit Sandhu, competing in her first Deaf Olympics, won 2 gold and 2 silver and proudly carried the Indian national flag as India's flag bearer at the closing ceremony. In karate, Loma Swain made history by becoming the first Indian to win a bronze medal. This year's performance marked a significant improvement from the previous Deaf Olympics in Brazil, where India had won 16 medals. The Women Premier League is set for the biggest moment of the year as it gears up for the mega auction for the 4th season on November 27th. The event promises drama, strategy and excitement as 5 franchises battle it out to rebuild their squads. DD India's Shobhit Chandola reports.
The Women's Premier League 2026 mega auction returns for the 4th season. This time it carries huge weight, especially after the historic World Cup triumph of the Indian women's team. A total of 277 players, 194 Indians and 66 overseas will go under the hammer. But with only 73 slots available, including 23 for foreign stars, competition will be fierce. Teams must spend wisely, balancing marquee names with emerging talent. The UP Warriors enter the auction with the biggest purse of Rs 14.5 crore, giving them a clear advantage. The Gujarat Giants follow with Rs 9 crore, while Mumbai Indians, Delhi Capitals and Royal Challengers Bengaluru have tighter budgets, each under Rs 6.5 crore. Only auction will tell which team will have the strongest squad. 8 marquee players headline the auction. India's Deepti Sharma, fresh from her Player of the Tournament performance at the Women's ODI World Cup, is expected to spark bidding wars. The only other Indian who features in the list is pacer Renuka Singh Thakur, released by RCB with a base price of Rs 40 lakh. Among the overseas stars, Australia's wicketkeeper batter Meg Lanning, New Zealand sensation Amelia Kerr, Sophie Ecclestone and Proteas World Cup hero Laura Walbot carry base prices of Rs 50 lakh. Former cricketer Anjum Chopra was all praise for the marquee strength as she talked about the possibilities lying ahead.
It will be obviously exciting to watch 8 marquee players getting into the auction pool. How are they stacking up in the auction pool against each other, and also how are the franchisees looking at these 8 players in the marquee pool? So that will be very interesting for me because that will be the first group that comes up for in the auction.
Marquees first doesn't mean no scope for the uncapped players. Beyond the big Indian stars are several uncapped sensations who would like to make it big in the auction. World Cup winner Southpaw N. Sri Charani joins the list, followed by 2-time WPL title holder Yashtika Bhatia. Among the under-19 World Cup prospects, all eyes are on the hat-trick girl Vaishnavi Sharma from Madhya Pradesh. Team strategies will be shaped by retentions and RTM cards. Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals have retained 5 players each, leaving them with no RTMs. RCB retained 4 and hold 1 RTM. Gujarat Giants kept 2 with 3 RTMs, while UP Warriors retained just 1 uncapped player but hold 4 RTMs, the most among all. Royal Challengers Bengaluru Smriti Mandhana currently holds the tag of the most expensive player in WPL history. Will she be dethroned finally? Only time will tell. For now, with marquee sets, uncapped talent, and international stars all in play, the WPL auction is set to showcase the growing structure of women's cricket in India and beyond. Shobhit Chandola's report for DD India.
Romania's National Day celebrations were held on 26 November in New Delhi with a vibrant and culturally rich reception. Celebrated on December 1st, Romania's National Day honors the Great Union of 1918, the historic milestone that shaped modern Romania. This year's festivities carried added significance as Romania and India mark 77 years of diplomatic relations. A report. The most striking thing about Romanian culture is its strong folk traditions, which have survived to this day due to the resilience of its rural communities. Performers of the Transylvania Folkloric Ensemble of Baia Mare brought Romania's traditional dance heritage to life for the National Day celebrations in New Delhi. Celebrated on December 1st, the day honors the Great Union of 1918, the historic milestone that shaped modern Romania. Romania's National Day celebration this year not only showcased the nation's rich heritage, but also reflected the growing warmth and depth of India-Romania ties.
It's the National Day of Romania tonight. It's always an immense honor for all of us to celebrate our National Day, of course. And to celebrate it here tonight with you in India is even more meaningful because today we also celebrate democracy in the world's largest democracy, because today is also India's Constitution Day. So I'm even more deeply honored that Secretary West and all Indians present here chose to celebrate this important day at the same time with Romanians.
On behalf of the Government of India and the people of India, I extend warm greetings to the government and the people of Romania on this special occasion. Our governments work closely on major global issues such as sustainable development, climate action, counter-terrorism, and promotion of peaceful, rules-based international order.
The festivities carried added significance as New Delhi and Bucharest commemorate 77 years of diplomatic relations this year, marked by renewed energy, expanding cooperation, and a shared commitment to shaping a more interconnected, culturally dynamic world. The India-Romania bilateral engagement is part of the wider India-EU economic framework, with both sides working to conclude the mutually beneficial India-EU free trade agreement within this year. Sina Latif, ambassador of Romania to India. Iulia Vuntur, celebrated Romanian artist whose extraordinary artistic journey spans Bollywood. Dr. Sanjana John, renowned Indian filmmaker, all spoke about the vibrant people-to-people ties between both the countries and the need for advocacy for women empowerment across the world.
There are many ways in which India and Romania cooperate. We have strategic cooperation, defense, political, economical, which is, of course, I think the basis. We are having very important high-level economic meetings this year, and we are hoping to have more students in Romania. More Indians are already coming. We're happy to host a lot of Indians.
I feel very proud and honored. Honestly, I was so nervous because to sing the national anthem, that's a big responsibility responsibility, but at the same time a big honor. So I feel so grateful and blessed that I had the chance. Thank you so much for inviting me to.
Sanjana, what more can be done to build on this growth, this momentum between India and Romania ties?
I think we have the best of both worlds in both of them. Excellency is probably the one who's integrating not just culture, but I think with heart, the support for women, because being a woman herself, he's bringing the Shakti, the true Shakti to India. And we have our very own, I should say, Julia Vantur from the Vatican, where she sang Very Merry. I'm so proud and honored to be a part of this celebration today.
The evening brought together several European diplomats, cultural and business leaders, as well as prominent members of the Romanian community. The guests got a taste of authentic Romanian cuisine and an immersive celebration of friendship, cultural harmony and global cooperation. Tanvi Taneja for DD India. That's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.